All right. So you ended up in Houston, Texas. Tell me about what that was like for you.
Well, I left Austin one step ahead of the police and two steps ahead of a couple of exes. And I left in a hurry. My profile had gotten really high as far as the Austin Police Department was concerned, and I didn't want to be arrested. So I skedaddled out of Austin, Texas, and I had a friend living in Houston because I had a regular gig in Houston at this place called Shakespeare's Pub. I'd go down there once a month, with the Stumble, and we played every New Year's, and went down and played on. The food bank had a big benefit there every Thanksgiving, and I was always the headliner for that. And this place would be packed. It only held 95 people, and when I'd play there at the food bank or on New Year's and stuff, there was easily 200 to 300 people in it's crammed in this joint. And we were rocking.
Nice.
And so I get down there and stayed at Jim Pierce's house. He was one of the vice presidents of the record label, Doc Blues, and him and I had become friends. And so he let me move into his place, and I stayed there for about 6 weeks until I got my own apartment just 2 blocks away. But the day I got there, I went over to Shakespeare's and told him I just moved there and could I get a regular gig, and the owners looked at me and said, "We just sold the bar yesterday."
Oh, wow.
I said, "What?" They said, "Yeah, we sold it to this guy we call Mr. Ali's Palestinian." I said, "Oh, okay." And they go, "Don't worry, John. We told him you come with the lease." I said, "What?" He goes, "You are part of, your gigs are here. Whether he has anybody else play or not, you're part of the lease, the
Nice.
agreement." And so Mr. Ali and I got along great. Everybody else hated him, but I got along with him great. He loved my play, and I worked there. And and that club went through several ownership changes after the original owners had sold it. And I was, it was like I was a part of the lease. No matter who got the club, I had my regular gigs there. And so I had that. And then from that place, I stretched out and played all throughout the southeast Texas region. Down in Galveston, I had a couple places I played there regular. A friend of mine, Paul Orta, who I'd played with for about 3 years in Austin and toured Europe twice with, and made a record that was one of the best-selling records on New Rose Records out of Paris, and was written up about in Spin magazine and Rolling Stone and all that shit. That was a good band. We had Freddie Farrell on drums, Keith Ferguson on bass, Eddie Stout on bass, and he was also band manager and label owner that Paul recorded for him. And that was a killer band. But anyway, I digress. So I'd gotten down, and I played Shakespeare's for the first time, met the original owners when I was with Paul Orta. So I'm down there in Houston. There's lots of places to play, but there weren't any real blues clubs, so to speak. But I kind of fit in a lot of different kind of clubs because they liked the way I played guitar. They didn't particularly care that I was playing blues or not, but the fact that I was a hot shot guitar slinger kind of thing, they knew I could draw, and I could draw. I always had a good following in all these different places. And I recorded a live album there in Houston, and my last studio album was recorded when I was still in Houston. That guy, Sweet Pea, what's Andrew's last name?
What's that?
What's Andrew's last name?
Reed.
Ah, yeah.
R-E-E.
This guy named Andrew Reed had this record label out of Asheville, North Carolina. He saw me play in Austin 5 years before I moved to Houston. or a couple years before I moved to Houston. And then he lost track of me because I moved to Houston. And it wasn't until 2012 that he found me in Houston and set up my last record. And I had James Cloyd and Barry Frosty Smith, the legendary drummer who played with everybody in the world, from Sly and Parliament Funkadelic to me. Great, and one of the most incredible drummers ever lived. And we did a live show at a theater in Fayetteville, in Asheville, North Carolina, that was filmed and released all over. And Andrew Reid was actually on on NBC News being interviewed after they had the fires out there in Asheville, right after the hurricane. And Andrew Reid we're going, oh wow, Andrew's still alive. He's giving an interview on NBC about how tough things are there right now. It's just because he lost it all, lost his studio, his cabin, it all burned down and flooded, all that shit, man.
Right.
And and previously he'd lost his kid, one of his kids in a car accident. Andrew's had a tough time, but he never gives up. And he always says, "You're the man that taught me how to play guitar." And I'm okay, you could already play, but okay. So that's where I recorded my last 2 albums, was when I was based in Houston. One night, the thing about Houston, and Austin too, at that time of my life, I had gotten into extraneous partying, activities. And so I was doing a lot of blow and a lot of speed and all that sort of shit, and drinking a lot, just having a grand old time, and not giving a shit about anything or that. I was in debt up to my eyeballs, didn't give a flying fuck, because Texas had usury laws. Credit cards could threaten you, but they couldn't. If you live in Texas and you owe somebody money, there ain't nothing they can do about it. They can't sue you. They can't throw you in jail. They can't do jack shit. So I was pretty living just on the edges of the law, just on the outside edges of it. And which I lived most of my adult life like that anyway. As Bob Dylan once said, to be honest, you have to live outside the law. And I am an honest person. And so I've always lived just, right there, about like that, outside the law. And so I was playing one of these, so I was partying pretty good, and I looked like hell. My skin was gray. People all over in Austin and in Houston, there was a bookmaker making bets as to how long I was going to survive and shit, in Austin. Yeah, fooled him. He lost his money. But all those motherfuckers bet against me lost their fucking money. I'd just finished headlining one of these big food bank benefits at Shakespeare's, right? And so I come out, and the way I would end my show, I'd be doing my Freddie King Goes Surfing, which you've heard. And it's hot shit, really fast surf tune that throws in several Freddie King references. And the way I'd end my show is I'd stuff my guitar, shove it through the ceiling, and leave it hanging from the ceiling, feeding back, just howling and feed back. I'd introduce the band before I played the song, then play the song, shove the guitar into the ceiling, left it hanging from the ceiling, and go, and I'm John Mcvey. And the door to the outside was right next to the stage, and I'd walk off stage and walk outside. And the place, I did that for 14 years there. The place we always figured it was going to catch fire after one of those showstoppers. It was, one guy said, "Man, you have the best show finale of anybody I've seen outside of James Brown."
Nice exit.
Yeah, nice exit. And so this one time I went out and I was talking to some friends of mine. This little blonde girl with these piercing blue eyes comes up next to me and just interrupts, she goes, oh, I used to live in Austin. Yeah, I used to know Cliff Anton and all those people and stuff like that. And I go, who are you? Oh, my name's Mary Alice. She goes, you want to be kidnapped? I said, sure, but I got to be back in 30 minutes because I'm playing with the Sunday night jam session band and we start in 30 minutes. She goes, okay. So we get in her car and she drives over to her house and we feed her dogs. Then she drives me back to the club. And we're having a conversation the whole time. And I'm just going, this lady's pretty smart and pretty sharp and stuff. And one thing she asked me on the drive me back to Shakespeare's was, well, what do you think of our mayor? We had the first openly gay female mayor in the country at the time. And I said, heck, man, I think she's doing a good job, man. She's a good mayor. And I didn't know that was a test, you know. And so we get back to Shakespeare's, and she's dropping me off. I'm getting out because I got to go play, go back to work, make some money. And I go, well, Miss Mary Alice, can I give you my phone number so you can give me a call if you feel like it? She goes, she smiles at me sweetly and goes, nah, I'm not going to call you. I said, no, maybe I'll see you here at Shakespeare's again. She goes, nah, I never come out here. This is West Houston. I'm Central Houston, downtown. Okay. Well, it's nice meeting you and hope you have a good life. Okay. And about 2 weeks after that, I'm playing with Bobby Mack at the Big Easy. And I'm standing stage left, right by the front door. We're right in the middle of a song. And this girl walks in. I lean over and I said, well, hi, Mary Alice. Good to see you. She was trying to sneak past me. Because she didn't hear me play at Shakespeare's. She wanted to see if I could actually play. Because she hung out when she was young with Lou Ann Barton and Jimmy Vaughn. She waited tables at the original Lantones, was one of the people that started all the waitresses dressing up like 40s and 50s and all that stuff.
That's cool.
You know. And from that point on, she started showing up at my gigs. And I'd just gotten out of a really hairy, drug-fueled relationship, and I wasn't looking for anything else. And because that girl was crazy. And Mary Alice kept showing up at Shakespeare's and stuff. And she'd talk to me, and I wouldn't have much to say because I was scared of her and shy and bashful because I'm shy, bashful, and I have very awkward social skills, as in none. People always think I'm stuck up, and it's like, no, I'm scared to talk to you because I don't know what to talk. I don't know how to talk to people. I ain't stuck up or anything. I'm nervous. That's it. And so she put an end to my not being friendly by grabbing hold of me one time going, you are the unfriendliest man I have ever met. And I was going, no, I'm not. I really want to know you. I just don't know what to say. I'm scared. And we started dating and then moved in together, and we've been together 15 years. And after we'd been together a year, she goes, you know, the only thing that's going to break us up is that nasty habit of coke and speed that you do. And so she goes, so sleep on that. And I woke up the next morning and I said, I'm done. And I cold turkeyed everything. Boom, just like that. Never touched the stuff since. And we've been together 15 years and she saved my life.
Yeah.
And so when we came up here, Preston played a gig down in Houston at Shakespeare's. He was with that slide guitar player that from Austin that comes up from time to time. I can't remember his name. Plays some Elmore and stuff like that. And he's decent. And he used to tour up here all the time and would bring people like Buck and that piano player used to play with the Blasters and with the Thunderbirds, who's also a good friend of mine. This senioritis shit and marijuana. I can't remember anybody's names. So Preston and I went back a long ways. He was in my band for a good year. Gene Taylor was the piano player, and him and Gene played in the Stumble for about a year. Gene played for 6 months. Preston was with me for a year and stuff, and that was a lot of fun. But that was definitely a drug-fueled band. It was crazy. I mean, just absolutely crazy. Just absolutely crazy. But anyway, this was past that, and I'd already recorded this album that was released out of Asheville and Universal Music and stuff. And Preston comes up to me at the gig and says, "Hey man, you need to come check out St. Louis. There's a lot of work up there. We need to put a band together." So we stayed in touch. And about a year later, I said, "Okay, Preston, I'm coming up. I'm going to come check it out." So me and Mary Alice come up to St. Louis, right? And we get a hotel out around 290 or some shit. We didn't know our way around, didn't know anybody except for, I didn't remember that John Logan lived up here. I didn't remember that Hudson lived up here. It's just Preston. So Preston and I, we're going to put a band together. Well, Mary Alice and I, it was a Sunday afternoon, and we were checking out all the clubs that said they had blues. We got the Hammerstones. We'd already been to Beale and BB's and Broadway. We get the Hammerstones Sunday afternoon. Blues Jam is happening, being run by Raoul. And we're sitting on the back patio, right by the steps that goes upstairs to the deck. And we're having toasted ravs and a couple of drinks. And it's March. Yeah, it was in March, late March. And it was a beautiful day. It was like an early spring day here in St. Louis, as we found out since. It was a beautiful day, and Mary Alice going, "Man, I just love this architecture, stuff like that." I said, "Yeah, so do I. This place is cool. I used to run around here a little bit with my dad. I see Cardinals play and see the brewery and all that stuff." Well, we decided right then on that patio that we're moving to St. Louis.
Wow.
And so we go back to Houston. Within 2 months, the house is sold. She shut down her business. I've given up all my gigs. We pack up and we move up here not knowing anybody but Preston. Didn't know that Preston was sick and was soon to die. We get up here the week we are up here. It's the day it comes out the cover story of Riverfront Times about his controversial relationship with the Surrey girl, which I'm just going, well, people could be shocked, but none of that surprised me at all. That was just Preston, who was a sweetheart, by the way. And but that's how we ended up moving here. And Mary Alice had enough money over from selling her house, and we were able to pay cash for this house. And she got a job downtown at a salon, and I got hired by Hammerstones after sitting in with they had the Mighty Orc came up from Houston, and he was playing a Saturday night, and he was out on the patio, and they were still letting bands play on the patio at night, I guess. I don't know why he was on the patio, but I came in and sat in. I came off stage, and Hammerstones gave me a gig right then and there. They'd never seen anybody get up, pass an empty guitar case around to all the audience members as a tip jar, because there wasn't a tip jar up there. And I'm passing it around after I finish my little mini set with Mighty Orc. People, I'm looming over them.
Right.
My cowboy hat and boots and
Right.
all that shit, and had a full beard at the time and stuff. So I got a gig from Hammerstones, and then went and sat in at a Broadway Oyster Bar on a Monday night, Soulard Blues Jam. That night I walked away with a gig to play the Oktoberfest with the Soulard Blues Band as one of their 3 guests, along with Miss Renee and 2 other women singers. And I had the opening slot, and I just tore it up. And I got offered, a month after that, I got offered the gig with the Soulard Blues Band, and played with them until the pandemic. And so between that and playing at Hammerstones and playing some other gigs on my own around and stuff, and realizing, the only place I really want to play is Hammerstones. Well, then Social Security kicked in. After COVID, COVID kicked in, killed everything. Well, I'd met the Morgans, and we put together a band, and we played throughout the entire COVID thing at Hammerstone's once or twice a week. We would barricade off the front of the stage with 2 to 3 rows of chairs.
Yep.
And we would not stay in the club on breaks.
Yeah.
We went outside. Anytime we were off stage, like everybody, we were masked up. And none of us got COVID.
Right.
And that's how I met the Morgans. We've been together for 5 years, still together. They're going to be, that's the last band I'm ever going to work with. Riley hasn't been playing. He's had some health issues he's had to deal with. So he's been out this month, but he's starting up again in June, first week of June.
Good.
And we're getting to record some soundtrack material for a Papa Ray's TV show.
Oh, nice.
And I'm playing on Papa Ray Day over in Collinsville, Illinois.
I saw that.
On the 24th.
Yeah.
And I'm using Chris Millar on drums. You heard him.
Sure.
Incredible great drummer and stuff like that. Riley may be up to playing some keys. I don't know. And Papa Ray's supposed to join us for a few songs on harmonica and sing a few.
Fun.
So we're going to have a good time. But that's how I got to St. Louis. Mary Alice saved my life in Houston to where I'm still alive and came up here. We fell in love with St. Louis, fell in love with the people. I don't know how many of the people fell in love with me or not.
A lot.
Because I'm kind of cantankerous. and I don't, people have learned real quick once they got to meet me that I don't stand bullshit. When it comes to my job, I'm super professional about it. And I'll raise hell with anybody that's not. And
where can people find you playing out in the clubs? You're at Hammerstones. Hammerstones.
That's it, man. Social Security kicked in.
Wednesday nights?
Wednesday nights, every Wednesday night from 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock. The best blues in town, guaranteed. You ain't going to find a better blues guitarist, a better blues band, a better show in town on fucking Wednesday night than at Hammerstones from 7 to 11. Every Wednesday, I play the first Sunday and the third Sunday afternoon shows at Hammerstones. You ain't gonna find a better blues band anywhere in town on Sundays, the first and third Sundays from 3 to 7 than the John Mcvey band featuring the Morgans. I mean, that band just smokes. And it smokes with Chris Millard.
I'll testify.
And there's been people that are, other people, Bennett Schaefer and
Oh, not Mike Saffron.
No.
Gosh, Marty Speichner.
Marty Speichner. They both him and Bennett have been, and Chris have really helped out while Riley's been.
Oh yeah.
Ill.
Sure.
And I love the fact that musicians in this town help each other. Even if they don't like you, they'll help you if it's needed. It's just a wonderful place.
And the Hammerstone family, I mean, that place has been keeping live music alive for a long time. They do like 12 shows a week there.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, I play every Wednesday, the first and third Sundays, and the fourth Saturday of every month. But I will not be there this fourth Saturday, because I'll be playing Papa Ray Day in Collinsville. But the mighty Mike Aguirre has returned to St. Louis from his island adventures.
Yes.
So the island man is going to be filling in for me this Saturday, the 24th at Hammerstones. So
awesome.
All of y'all that ain't going to be in Collinsville, and I'm keeping track of the people that ain't going to be in Collinsville. You better be at Hammerstones. So, but I got my eye on you.
All right. All right. Hey, John, thanks again, man.
Thank you,
Spend
Dave.
some time, and we'll see you out at Hammerstones.
Oh, I know. And I know this is going to be part 2, but after you go through all this information I just gave you from this old press kit and stuff, I figure there's going to be a part 3.
All right.
So
we'll look forward to it.
all righty.